Easy.
Yeah. Okay. 1868, we have Grant versus Seymour. I would have gone for Grant 100%.
I think I would have gone for Grant too, because respect the military.
All right. 1872, we have Grant versus Greeley. I
I
would have
don't
gone
know.
for Grant again. And Grant's first term was actually really good. His second term, on the other hand, was a disaster. But we're just looking at his first term here because we're pretending that we're alive in 1872.
All right.
So
So I
yeah,
would have gone with Grant.
yeah. Grant's first term was pretty good. Civil service. I mean, not really civil service, but you have like reforms in the government, more civil rights. Like it's just also the Justice Department. Like yeah, okay, 1876. By this time, the economy is in shambles. The Grant administration is extremely corrupt, and we have two candidates, both of whom are calling for reform, just in terms of the federal government and ending corruption.
Yeah.
So, who would you have gone for?
I'm actually not sure because I know uh, this election was like
I'll tell you this:
verily
Hayes,
decided.
Hayes, I think is a lot. I mean a lot more religious than Samuel Tilden.
Yeah, I know Hayes was somewhat more religious, but I'm not actually sure what did how they differentiate.
So the main difference, so both of them supported reform. Tilden was just a little bit more, I'd say like both of them were reformists, but Tilden had more of a strong track record regarding reform and ending corruption, mostly because he was from New York, which is one of the most corrupt states at the time. So he had more of a track record of doing so, but both of them were anti-corruption. Tilden was from New York, Hayes was from
What are the
Ohio.
economic views? Which one supported tariffs or not?
Yeah, just assume the Republican is the one who supports tariffs,
Okay,
because
so
yeah.
I would have probably gone with Hayes.
I would have gone with Hayes also, mostly because he's more supportive of civil rights than Tilden was. So
Yeah.
1880. So this time, civil rights is no longer an issue because the troops have been withdrawn from the South. So the main issues of this time are just literally just tariffs. Just think of it like that.
Yeah, I would have supported tariffs because uh, I'm protectionist with when it comes to the economy.
So you would have gone for Garfield then.
Yeah, he was assassinated, so rest in peace. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I would
he
have
was also
actually.
from what I heard, I think he was quite smart.
He
Was
was,
he?
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I would
He
have gone
could
with that.
apparently he could write English and with one hand and Latin
In
with the
Latin with
other.
yeah,
Yeah.
the other. So
So I would have actually voted for Winfield Scott Hancock. He's had like a huge track record in the military. Same with Garfield, but Hancock's have had much more of a track record. Like he was the general during the Battle of Gettysburg, and he was very much in one of the reasons the Union won that battle.
yeah.
And the other thing about Hancock, I would disagree with you on the tariff issue at this point. I would be living in California, and California is not really a state that would benefit from protectionism. And all that higher tariffs would really mean for me would be just higher prices. So I would have gone for Hancock.
All right.
Okay, 1884, Cleveland versus Blaine.
Now, wait, can I say something first? I normally would instantly say Cleveland because I know he was very fiscally conservative. But the problem is Mr. Beat said he likes Grover Cleveland, which means I have to be opposed to him. I'm kidding. I would have supported Grover Cleveland. Uh, I think I think you would agree
Yeah,
with that too.
I would have been 100% on the Cleveland train until I would find out about the
You love bringing this up.
yeah, until I would find out about some of the more freaky stuff that he's done, to say the least. Like, then I would be more supportive of Blaine, but then I'd hear out about Blaine's corruption. Then I would probably go back to Cleveland. There wasn't
Grover
a lot
Cleveland
of
was part of
evidence. There
yeah.
wasn't a lot of evidence that what Cleveland did was like non-consensual. So I would have gone for Cleveland then because there wasn't a lot of evidence to back what the woman was saying in the terms that it was
Cleveland was
non-consensual.
Presbyterian too, so come on. I gotta go with it.
Yeah, so I'd go with Cleveland. 1888. So by this time, Grover Cleveland has decided to marry like I don't know, what is it, like a 19-year-old in the White House or something like that? Someone
Something
who
like
he's
that.
known
He was
since she
20 years
was,
younger than no, wait, actually might be even younger than that.
yeah, someone, and to make matters worse, he's known her since she was like 4 years old. So that would definitely, I don't know if I would know that though at the time. If I was aware of that, I would have definitely voted for Harrison. If I wasn't, I probably would have gone with Cleveland again.
I I actually don't know because Benjamin Harrison.
He's from
Wasn't
Indiana.
Cleveland? Yeah, I know. Wasn't Cleveland anti-tariff?
He was very anti-tariff.
Okay, so hmm, I don't know. Would I have supported tariffs around this time? Do you think I would have?
I mean, yeah, probably most voters in Indiana were very protectionist at the time.
Okay, well then I would have to say Benjamin Harrison because he was very devoutly religious too. So yeah.
So 1892. By this time, Cleveland and Harrison are in a rematch, and then you have a third guy, James Weaver. He's mostly running in the western states, but I think he's on the ballot everywhere.
I would have gone. Who do you think I would have gone for this time, Cleveland era?
So Weaver is very fiscally liberal, so I doubt you would have voted for him.
Yeah,
And then by this time, Harrison, he's actually done a lot of like active stuff with the federal government. In fact, the government like at this time was spending $1 billion, which for now
got
is nothing, but for them that was outrageous. So I could see you voting for Cleveland this election, mostly for the
yeah,
fiscal
yeah. I
conservatism.
just think I would have voted for Cleveland and just swallowed the hard pill on his moral failings.
Yeah.
So
I would have also voted for Cleveland mostly because of the McKinley tariff, which it jacked up tariff rates to like insane numbers. So I would have voted for Cleveland.
yeah,
Okay, 1896, William McKinley versus William Jennings Bryan.
McKinley, of course.
Yeah, I mean Jennings Bryan was extremely religious also,
McKinley
but
was extremely religious more. So
yeah,
actually, well, McKinley was like super devout. He was the only person in his like Thanksgiving message to use explicitly Christian language. So I like McKinley, and he also
yeah,
was assassinated, so he has extra legacy aura now.
yeah. I would have gone for Jennings Bryan this election mostly because I feel like the Cleveland administration, like the economy was trash at the time, and despite Jennings Bryan being a Democrat, he was like the complete opposite of Grover Cleveland. So I would just want new economic policies like
Who's that? I actually don't know him. Who is that?
William Jennings Bryan.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I should have researched this. I don't know who he
Yeah,
is.
so he's like he would be like considered like a he would be considered like an ultra liberal by the standards of 1896.
I
So
don't like the sound of that.
yeah, I don't think you would have
Come
liked
with
him.
McKinley.
Yeah, and his main issue was also getting rid of the gold standard and giving out free silver, which if you look at by 1896 would be considered kind of socialist.
Yeah.
So I don't think you would have liked Jennings Bryan very much.
Yeah, McKinley all the way.
Yeah, I would have gone for Bryan though, mostly because I would just want something new because the economy is kind of bad.
Okay.
So 1900, by this time it's McKinley versus Jennings Bryan. I could actually see you kind of getting mad at McKinley this time because he's kind of been violating the Monroe Doctrine and he's been doing like very imperialist policies.
I think I
So
would have tolerated it just because I like him as a person more. And I know it's like a stupid thing, but I like I said when I was telling you about when we were comparing who we like most as presidents. I tend to evaluate presidents more based off of like their life circumstances and their worldview and how well I can relate to all of that stuff. And so I think I might have actually stuck with McKinley, but if this guy is his opponent was good, I actually don't know about him, then I might have
so by
switched.
this time Jennings Bryan isn't as radical as he was in 1896. Free silver isn't really an issue anymore. So he's mostly just attacking McKinley's imperialism.
Okay, I don't know. I think I would have gone with McKinley too because I would have seen him as like a strong man. So
Yeah, I would have voted for Bryan this election mostly because I just wouldn't like the McKinley imperialism.
yeah,
Okay, 1908. Is this even a? Would you have voted for Alton Parker?
no, I think I would have gone with Theodore Roosevelt
Yeah.
since he was more economically progressive by today's standards. Of course, he'd be considered a radical fiscal conservative, but I would have voted for Theodore Roosevelt because I would have seen him taking on an economic establishment. Uh, and he was Theodore Roosevelt, unlike modern on social issues today, he'd be considered radically conservative. So I would have gone with
Yeah, I
Roosevelt.
would have gone for Teddy Roosevelt, no doubt
He was
about it.
also a tough guy, a war
Yeah,
hero.
he had a lot more aura.
Yeah.
Okay, 1908. I would have gone with Taft this election. Jennings Bryan is just washed at this point. He's like, yeah, this is how old? Like, it's been like 12 years since he first ran for president. I wouldn't vote for Bryan. I'd vote for Taft. mostly because he would be seen as a continuation of Roosevelt's policies. So I would have gone for Taft.
Yeah, I would have gone for Taft too because uh, he was even wasn't he more economically conservative than Roosevelt?
Yeah, he was more. I wouldn't even say conservative. He was more moderate than Roosevelt. Let's just say
Yeah,
that.
I like the idea of that. So, and by the way, I don't think Taft actually. I think it was. You can confirm this, but I think the whole bathtub thing was a myth.
Yeah, it's not true yet.
Okay, so
He also lost a lot of weight like later in life when he became a Supreme Court justice.
hmm.
Okay. Next up, we have 1912. I
I
would
don't
have.
know.
Would you have
You go
voted?
first. You go first. You go first.
Okay. I would have voted for Taft this election. I think what Roosevelt did is unfair, to say the least. Taft did a pretty good job as president in his first term. I would stay loyal to him. I would have voted for him again. Would you have
Here's the
voted for Wilson because of the
here's the thing.
Presbyterianism?
Here's the thing. Woodrow Wilson, yes, was a devout Presbyterian, and to be fair, he was president in Princeton. Uh, but he was he was a lot more interventionist, and he had a lot more. He was like the first real globalist president, at least uh, to the extent of actually acting on it later in World War One. But the thing is, a lot of this time, I won't get too into this, but the last great like theologian from Princeton University was a guy named Jay Gresham, and he actually was acquainted with Woodrow Wilson earlier, but eventually began to criticize him for his more internationalistic policies uh, and his whole massive federal government view. So I would have gone with Taft still.
Yeah,
And honestly, I would have probably been really angry at Roosevelt for trying to split the vote.
I would too.
Yeah, he with his more radical views. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, so I would have gone with Taft this election. So 1916, Wilson versus Charles Evan Hughes. I would have voted for Hughes. I think Wilson's first term. I don't like what he's doing his first term, segregating the workforce and just doing all that. I would have voted for
I don't know.
Hughes.
Uh, was he involved in uh, European affairs by at this point?
No, he wasn't, but he was trying to expand the size of the federal government. He was doing stuff like I think he was starting some new federal agencies, and he definitely was consolidating a lot of presidential power.
Yeah, had he started the Fed by then?
I think he has, yes.
Okay, well then I would have voted against him.
Okay, yeah, yeah. He started the Fed by this time.
Yucky Wilson. Ugh, come on.
All right, 1920.
Hmm.
I would have voted for Harding in this
Yeah,
election.
I just would just want to flip off Wilson.
Yeah, 1924. I would have gone with Silent
Coolidge,
Cal.
Coolidge, hands
Oh,
down, awesome.
yeah,
Okay, what were we saying?
yeah. I would have gone with Silent Cal this election. He's done a pretty good job so far. I would just want to
He's
keep
one of the
things
most
going.
underrated presidents because one of the greatest things he did was not do just about anything wrong.
Yeah,
And so I can't think of that many things Calvin Coolidge did wrong. And I know the big government people would love to point out, oh, we didn't stop the Great Depression that he wasn't president during. And so I love Coolidge, and he's one of the most underrated presidents just because he's forgotten about.
I mean, I could
He could have been
honestly.
a third term. He could have been a third term
He could
president.
have, but let me
That would have
explain.
ruined him.
Like Ben, this might get you
Yeah.
mad, but I could honestly see you voting for John Davis this election because he was actually more conservative than Coolidge.
Don't worry about
Especially,
offending me.
yeah, I know, but he was actually more conservative than Coolidge. But at the same time, again, Coolidge has done a great job up to this point, so I think you would want to keep things going. And
I
also
also Coolidge
personal
was
loyalty for
yeah
Coolidge.
Coolidge was cleaning up the government too. Was Davis going to do that?
He might have, I don't know.
Well, I think I just want to go on for Coolidge
Oh
because he
yeah,
was.
he also was Davis was also like he was in the Wilson administration, so I don't know if he would have voted for him then.
I think I just would have gone with Coolidge because
Yeah,
he's the more
again, yeah.
mainstream
Yeah,
option.
I would have gone for Coolidge also. All right, 1928. I would
Per-
have voted for Hoover
Pervert.
this election.
Yeah.
We wouldn't know yet about like the Great Depression stuff. Al Smith also kind of screams corruption. He's been linked to Tammany Hall. No, not just because he was a Catholic during this election. I would have voted for Hoover mostly because just continue the stuff Coolidge has done.
Yeah, I would have. Hmm, I would have gone for Herbert Hoover too, even though that would be like dropping a brick on my head.
Yeah. And then 1932. I would have voted for FDR.
You're really making me do this. I don't know. I think I would have just. It depends.
You
It
wouldn't
depends
know
if.
about all the New Deal stuff that FDR would do though
Yeah.
in
Yes.
1932.
Yes. But he made it very clear he had plans to do radical changes, and I don't know. Hmm. Do you think I would have been able to? Do you think I would have been able to get on board with FDR?
Yes, you dude. Like you would if you were alive in 1932, like you would be unable to afford like bread. Like the
Okay. What if I was somewhat well off?
okay.
Okay, okay. I know. By the way, I just want to say this: Pennsylvania was like one of the only states to not vote for FDR,
Yeah, but that's because
and
they had a huge Quaker population and Hoover was Quaker also.
okay, well, I think I would have just gone on board with FDR. I hate to admit it. I would have opposed the New Deal, uh, in principle, but I just would have been against Herbert Hoover. I think his handling was just bad. I don't think I would be against the Republican Party. So
Yeah.
I hate to admit it, but I think I might have gone with FDR.
All right. So 1936, I think this time you would have gone with Landon because this is when FDR has started his New Deal programs. So I'm pretty sure you would have gone Landon this election.
Yeah, I don't actually know much about Elf Landon, but
He actually supported some of the New Deal stuff. He just didn't want to go as far as FDR did.
yeah, I would have probably gone with Landon then. And I don't
Yeah.
know what was his views on social issues. Was he more
Like
reserved?
almost
Or
nothing is known about Alf Landon.
okay, well that's great. Uh, I would have gone with Landon.
Yeah, I would have gone with FDR because the economy is improving and I wouldn't really care about how it's being done. So yeah. All right, 1940. By this time, I would have just said screw you, FDR, for trying to run for a third term.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, so I would have gone for Wendell Willkie.
One of my favorite quotes is "Rebellion to tyranny is obedience to God." So, I would have gone with uh, Wendell.
Yeah. So 1944. By this time, America is in World War II. Even though I wouldn't want to shake things up too much, FDR is just too old at this point. He's
Yeah,
clearly
he's
losing
going
the
to
Senate.
die.
Yeah. So I would have voted
This,
for yeah, I would have voted for Dewey this election. He just seems a lot younger, so I would have voted for him.
yeah, I would have voted for Thomas Dewey too, just because I don't like the idea of this FDR guy having this endless personality cult. Uh, and I know it sounds like ironic I'm saying that in modern day, but the thing I don't like is that he's running for multiple terms, expanding the federal government, which would, at least in hindsight now, later be a very bad trend to start. Even if FDR did handle at least World War II pretty well, which I think he handled that decently well. So yeah.
All right. So 1948, you have Harry Truman versus Thomas Dewey. Like Strom Thurmond wasn't even on the ballot anywhere except for like yeah, but anyway.
I think I actually, you know what? As many Democrats as I dislike, I don't think Harry Truman was like that bad. Thinking about it,
Yeah.
but I don't. I'm not sure if I would have voted for him. So you'd
I
have to
think
tell
you
me.
would have honestly like his first term like you're starting the cold would you have been supportive of the Cold War?
I would have been supportive of domestically making sure communist ideologies aren't spreading, but I would not have been. I would have not wanted to be interventionist. Like I would have not supported the Vietnam War or stuff like that. It would have been a lot more concerned domestically than foreignly. But the problem is, I would have probably been like all over the place, kind of like Nixon was, where you want to pull out, but you also don't want communism to spread. So
I
you
think
kind of
at
want
this point
both of both worlds. So I don't know.
I think you would have voted for Dewey, honestly. Like, I think both of them had identical Cold War policies. Just domestically speaking, Dewey was more conservative than Truman was. He was anti-union, I believe, and
Yeah,
he was also a less proponent of like more liberal economic policies than Truman. So I think you would have gone for Dewey this
yeah.
election. I would have gone for Truman mostly because I think was a little bit too hard on him at this point. He was very unpopular, but I think he did the best he could considering he literally inherited like a massive global crisis. So I'd have gone Truman. Okay, 1952. I like Ike. I'll just say that.
Yeah, I would have gone with Eisenhower too, just because he was a war hero. Again, I respect that. So yeah.
Yeah, 1956. Same thing. I like Ike.
Yeah, same. I also got Nixon on the ticket, who was a lot better. But after like the whole checkers dog thing live stream, which later happened, his popularity shot up, and it's kind of interesting with Nixon because at some points in his career he was very popular, some points he was very unpopular. Uh, so I would have supported Eisenhower again because he was very widely liked, apart from someone like the Deep South. Uh, for actually enforcing civil rights. So I would have gone with Eisenhower.
Yeah. And then 1960, we have Kennedy versus
I would
Nixon.
have just hated the smug of, of Kennedy, so I would have gone with
I
Nixon.
would have gone for Nixon mostly because I feel like he's more experienced and he knows more what he's doing regarding foreign policy.
Yeah, just didn't like. Uh, I just don't like the like nepotism from Kennedy. I would have appreciated his military service, but Nixon also served too.
Yeah,
I'm actually not sure if Nixon saw combat. Do you know if he did?
he did, but it was very minimal.
All right. So I think I would have gone with Nixon just because, again, conservative. Although, as far as Democrat presidents go, Kennedy was on like issues that would divide party lines today. He would he would be considered conservative, but
Yeah,
I think he was pro-union and also came from a more affluent background, which I don't think I would support because he came from an elite family in Massachusetts. Uh,
1964. I would have gone with LBJ this election mostly because I just wouldn't want to shake things up too much, and I feel like Goldwater is just a little bit too hawkish regarding the Cold War. And I also like LBJ's stance more on civil rights, and this is before the whole Great Society thing kicked in, by the way.
I just don't think I would have liked how expansionist LBJ was later, but he did show early signs of like wanting to model his whole thing off of FDR, and I think I would have seen him. To be honest, I think I would have just seen him as trying to milk Kennedy's assassination in shadow, to be
Yeah.
seen as like this person who's going to continue this tragic legacy of his. And I just think I don't think I'd buy that. I think I would find that quite annoying. So I might have voted for Goldwater, but I don't know what my views would have been at the time. Do you
Yeah, I
think
think
I
it
would
would
have?
have